I was not going to be silent, because this happened and it's still happening to other women. And until people who it doesn't affect are as outraged as the people who it does affect, nothing will get done. I'd lost myself, I'd lost all my furniture and my memories, and I had to rebuild myself, and slowly we've done it. He had his hand over my mouth and the other hand behind the back of my head, and I actually thought for a moment that he was actually going to break my neck. Like, I thought, this is it. He's going to kill me. Like, that was it. And I remember breathing so hard, like trying to suck the air in through his fingers. And I was just waiting for it. I was thinking, is it going to hurt?
I'm getting chills even just remembering. He had violent rages, which was just how it started. I was always worried that I was going to do something wrong.
Out in Western New South Wales, a lot of the services that we have for domestic violence are 9 to 5 services. We weren't really offering that support to women after hours, so during the night. And we're finding that the nighttime was that period where women often return to relationships because that's when they feel alone. And I guess it's about, settling them as well and making sure that they've got that emotional support through some of the hardest hours when they do feel quite isolated.
He was very convincing that, we should spend the rest of our lives together. I had no support network in Blaney. I had nobody. But it just so happened to be going to the doctor that afternoon, and the doctor I'd never met before. And I don't even know what I was going there for, I don't remember now. I said, my partner put his hands around my neck for the second time this morning, and told me he was going to kill me.
Clients are referred to us when they're in crisis, and we usually work with them up until they're stable, so they're feeling strong enough to continue on by themselves. Jo was really, really upset in the beginning. She didn't have any emotion in her voice at all. She didn't have any options. She had just moved to a new area and she didn't know anyone. She felt really stuck.
That's really what got me through, to be honest. All those other people, you see them, you go away, but the girls were calling me at night time.
And it was really reassuring Jo that she could do this. She had the tools, she'd been there, she was a successful woman previously and an independent woman, and that had been taken away from her.
When the sun goes down, it's like there's a silence, and with that silence, your thoughts start coming in.
I think the risk if we're not there, number one risk if we're not there is people returning to the relationship.
Yeah, look, I think our service is fundamental in having women stay away because of the reassurance they have and because they feel like that extra person at the end of the phone is just going to be there to say it's okay. What you're doing is amazing. You've come so far. Every little step counts. And I don't think they get that in everyday life. So I think it does really make a difference to them not returning to the relationship.
We're not just here to point you in the direction of all the services that you can access. Like, this is a time that you can grieve that relationship.
I guess the difference between our service and like an on-call service is that we proactively reach women. So you need to understand that women who've been in a domestic violence relationship are unlikely to want to reach out for help because they've been so used to being quiet and keeping everything a secret in regards to what's going on to protect themselves and their family. So when we proactively reach out to these women and ask them, are you okay, and can we talk to you tonight, and how are things going, it's actually someone that's reaching out to them and they don't feel like they have to ask help and they don't feel disempowered.
If it wasn't for them, like, I needed someone that actually knew what I needed to do, but just to basically, it was carrying me. But I didn't care about myself. I didn't want to live prior to talking to them.
I think the things that come down to specifically related to rural and remote are the issues of stigma, of fear of lack of confidentiality, of being known and being identified. Domestic violence leads to greater social isolation. Geographical issues and fewer services mean it's harder to access services, so when the problem starts, it's harder to get help. From what I understand, Linka is quite unique in a gap filling exercise. In a metro situation, you might be able to have, you know, on-call staff or different things. This is actually about a distributed support across many services, across a really broad geographic area.
Okay, the Domestic Violent Court Advocacy Service referred me onto the Linka service. My first phone call with them was after I'd given birth to Hudson. These women believed me. I was told I was crazy for 12 months and they believed me, and they believed that they knew what I was talking about, and they could help me identify the behavioural traits that he had been presenting with that linked the behaviour to domestic violence, which helped me make sense of some of the things that I was struggling with at the time.
Domestic violence impacts children just as much as it does the person who's directly experiencing the domestic violence. So we know that 1 in 4 children are exposed to domestic violence, and that can be either, their experience can be direct in that they might become exposed to the physical and if they're trying to interrupt mum and dad, they might be hit as part of the consequences, they might be dragged into it, so made to be abusive towards mum on behalf of dad as well. But then there's those other consequences, that your home's meant to be your safe place and you are walking on eggshells because you don't know what's going to happen the next time you're at home.
I guess one of the thought processes I had at the time was, but they were asleep when it was happening, or they were with their dad when it was happening. But it still affects them. They still, like, why is mummy crying? Why have we left our other home? Why has he kept all our things? Like, when do we get our things back?
A lot of the conversations I had with Tegan was really just reassurance about the resilience of children, reassurance. She had a really big fear that she had, done something really drastic by getting into this relationship, and she'd ruined the children's lives and ruined their childhood. And we had to have a talk about that and really kind of bring her back to, well, no, you didn't, because look where you are now. You didn't stay. She was very in tune with her kids, and she knew that, they were unsettled because of the trauma, and she was behaved really therapeutically towards that.
I think often for women, the trigger to leave is when it becomes violent towards the children, or the women can see how it's affecting their children. A lot of the times, if they are if there's no children in the relationship, I think it will take a lot harsher violence for them to leave, because women will take a lot. They will put themselves through a lot to try. They've been made to feel like that person is the only person that will be there for them. They're groomed in a way to be solely reliant upon that person, and they're often, isolated from their family and friends, so they don't have anyone which will help them get out of that situation.
I've been rescued. I'm a survivor. Without them, I wouldn't be here. I really wouldn't be here. Thank you, girls.
I wouldn't be where I am now without it. I think in hindsight, I probably would have gone back to him because I was scared. And there was, with the fact that we had a child together and the stuff that went on during that time frame, it would have been easier to go back to him. But I've done the hard thing. I haven't gone back. We get to be safe and we get to stay safe, and that cycle ends with him.